Look at the bizarre form of transvestism that non-Muslim Arab women practice. No amount of fake hair, tight skirts, pancake makeup, and electrolysis can conceal the fact that they are not attractive women. Phrases like this are commonly circulated on the internet as identifiers of a particular race due to distinct characteristics that people make about others. But the effect this has on minorities when they use the internet is mostly negative and affects their daily life. I'm Francesca Kumar.
I'm Juliana Lynn.
I'm Haisa Haval.
I'm Stuti Vasco.
And I'm Jayla Phillips. Our team had a goal to research and understand whether different minorities were negatively affected on the internet. We used 5 different parameters, including social, historical, political, moral. We used social, political, moral, and cultural parameters to analyze this. By the end of our research, we decided that yes, minorities are negatively affected on the internet. To solve this, schools can teach the idea of equality. Another solution is to have all social media platforms create restrictions online, and you can create consequences for these actions.
Minorities are often portrayed differently on the media due to selective cutting of footage or showing them in a negative way to portray a wrong perspective about them. According to Dimitri Williams, a professor at USC Annenberg, outside of sports games, many African Americans are represented as gangsters and street people in video games. Due to many African Americans being portrayed as gangsters and street people in video games, this affects the perception of the players, which includes many kids still learning about things like stereotypes. And when they see a whole minority being portrayed this way online, then they're going to assume that what they saw online is representative of the whole minority out there in the real world. This, therefore, negatively influences the way that these kids might interact with African Americans in the future. This graph here shows how both the African Americans and Hispanic communities believe that their people are not portrayed accurately by the media. This occurs due to skepticism over the beliefs of the news space. This also causes minorities to lose confidence to step out in the world due to online circulations of misinformation regarding them, and this also motivates haters to spread more hate and commit crimes against minorities. An example of this would be during the COVID-19 pandemic, when Asians were targeted for the spread of the coronavirus since it originated in China. This figure here shows how more African Americans were suspected in TV crime reports compared to how many the NYPD actually arrested. This leads people to believe that African American people are more involved in crime, and this leads them to report them to the police if they suspect them. Getting arrested, even if someone is innocent, stays on the record and hurts their chances of staying in their jobs or getting new jobs. With the media circulating such false information about a minority, innocent people like George Floyd will continue to be victimized since no one will believe the words that they have to say.
Minorities, as Stuti said, are being misrepresented in the virtual world, which causes them to portray differently in the media to fit in. But besides from that, minorities are also being mistreated and treated unfairly and unequally by professionals. In a research done by professors in the University of Pittsburgh and the University of Rochester explained this case. Where Anthony, one of the professors, said, "We examined the existence and the extent of racial discriminations against African Americans in social media customer services. We analyzed all complaints to 7 major US airlines on Twitter for a period of 9 months. Interestingly, our empirical analysis finds that African American customers are less likely to receive a brand response to their complaints on social media." Data was collected over 2 days on Twitter, where more than 250,000 users were identified. They filtered this data through different parameters, as being active, not spam, images, followers, etc. And the final number can be observed on this table. About 8,000 users were used in the research, where about 3,000 were African Americans, 4,000 were white, and 1,000 were considered some other race. We can also see the difference between males and females, where they had approximately the same amount of people in each group, 4,000 each. They found 2 different types of discriminations against this group. The first between races, and the second between gender. An African American customer decreases the odds of getting a response by the airline by 12.3%, while being a woman customer decreases the odds of getting a response by 2.75% compared to a male, and the African Americans compared to a non-African American. Racism and inequality is being portrayed by these professionals in the media, which not only causes a bad image for the brand and the airline, but causes minorities to feel unheard and unwelcomed by those brands and airlines.
Minorities are the victims of cyberbullying due to how easy and accessible the internet is to spread rumors or messages from anywhere, even if it is harmful. According to this chart study conducted by the Cyberbullying Research Center, 29.1% of people from the age of 13 to 17 who identify as a race of multiracial were the victims of cyberbullying. This is a problem because as minorities use the internet, they are more susceptible to cyberstalking, harassment, and threats. The fear and pain created by this behavior can lead to lack of confidence within their minority group. Now features like direct messaging on social media apps allow people to send threats and rumors to targeted people. As stated by Dumas and Midget, cyberbullying is related to depression and anxiety more and over above the effects of school bullying. Minorities experiencing anxiety and depression can decrease their mental health, affecting their everyday life. Their performance in school decreases, their attendance decreases, their relationship problems arise, and they may start to isolate themselves.
People who are already vulnerable to mental health and behavioral health disparities, which include sexual minorities, women, and racial and ethnic minorities, are more exposed to cyberbullying. This was mentioned in the American Journal of Public Health. Perpetrators of cyberbullying usually look for insecurities and low self-esteem within their victims. Commonly, minorities fall under this category. Relating back to what Sudhi said about stereotypes portrayed in the media resulting in degrading behaviors towards minorities, there is a link to how minorities may view themselves as less than others. This graph compares cyberbullying to electrical bullying in the LGBTQ community. In each scenario, it can be seen that electrical bullying has higher rates than in-person bullying within sexual minorities. The statistics emphasizes how platforms the internet has provided has a major effect on the spread of discrimination. This is an extensive problem because cyberbullying can lead to self-harm and decrease in mental health. Decrease in mental health can be seen in this next graphic, where almost half of the LGBTQ youth who has already experienced cyberbullying are already exposed to self-harm. This can lead to more serious problems like suicide. In both groups, in this bar graph shows mild rates of attempted suicide and even worse rates of considered suicide. This brings attention to the upbringing of cyberbullying within minority groups, especially since cyberbullying can lead to in-person situations.
After my group went over and discussed the problems, we came to the solution that to solve these problems, there can be consequences so that people will take it more seriously. Another solution is to have all social media platforms create restrictions so that people cannot post on hate comments. Creating a judgment-free and anonymous site so that people and their complaints will be heard, not ignored. And also teaching equality in schools so that kids can create their own opinions and that they all keep the idea that we all bleed the same blood. These solutions also come with limitations. You cannot tell people what to do or what to think. People are going to do and think what they want. Another consequence about this is that because of consequences, no one is going to stop. The First Amendment right is the right of freedom of speech. People might use this to justify their actions, and by having restrictions, this might violate the First Amendment rights.
Thank you.
All right, let's get together. We got to be quick to go through these questions. We're going to start at that right there. You're going to come, actually take a step back. All right, we'll start over here, work our way across. If you had a sixth member in your team, what could they add to this conversation?
They could definitely talk about the economic perspective, since they could see how employers treated different minorities and they could determine their pay based on their personal beliefs and things like that.
Okay. Describe an argument from one of these fools that makes you think different about the solution or that you guys came up with.
One argument was from Students' research paper where minorities were misrepresented online, and I think that our solution could be to add youth education, treating people equally online.
Okay. What's a way that the team solution makes you think different about the research you conducted?
Well, I conducted a political perspective, and it wasn't used, so I think that I would try and find other perspectives and make better claims so that it can be used within research.
Okay, let's build on. She said the politics wasn't used. Why did you guys decide not to use it?
We decided not to use political aspects surrounding internet discrimination because there wasn't enough strong evidence to support our claims, which were better explained through other perspectives.
Okay. Which of theirs gave you the best understanding of this situation, and then why?
I would say the one that gave me the better understanding of the situation was Francesca's, because she explained about cyberbullying, and most of the time we learn about cyberbullying in school, but not the way it actually is being represented in the media, because schools filtrate the actual data from it. So that's what made me learn